The sky was painted in soft shades of gold and rose as the sun stretched over the horizon. Morning dew sparkled on the grass, and the air buzzed with the sounds of children laughing, dogs barking, and distant music from a nearby ice cream truck. Ethan Cole sat quietly on a weathered park bench, a paper cup of coffee cooling between his hands. His son, Noah, was only 6, but already full of the kind of energy Ethan had long lost. The little boy darted across the playground, chasing pigeons with a stick, his giggles echoing like tiny bells through the crisp morning air. It was the kind of peace Ethan hadn't felt in years. Fragile, borrowed and fleeting. Once he'd worn a suit every day. Once he'd been someone, a marketing executive at a high-end firm in the city. Now he was just another single father, trying to rebuild the pieces of a life that had collapsed too quickly to understand. He watched Noah climb onto the slide, his heart swelling. At least I didn't lose him too. As he took another sip of his lukewarm coffee, a shriek pierced the air, high-pitched, terrified. It sliced through the easy laughter around the park. Ethan's head snapped up. Across the green, 2 little girls, identical twins, maybe 5 or 6 years old, stood near the edge of the park's small lake. One of them was clutching the string of a bright red kite, tugging hard as the wind fought back. The other stood too close to the water, her sneakers half submerged. And then, before anyone could react, she slipped. There was a splash, followed by another scream. The mother sitting nearby froze, phone in hand. The nanny beside her dropped her bag and shouted something incoherent. But Ethan didn't think. His body just moved. He was already sprinting across the grass, kicking off his shoes mid-run. The cold water hit him like a wall, but he didn't care. He could barely see through the glare of sunlight bouncing off the surface. Just a small, flailing figure sinking deeper. "Hold on," he shouted, diving in. The water was murky, numbing his skin instantly. His arms cut through it, searching, reaching, until his fingers brushed something soft. He pulled her up, gasping for air as they broke the surface. The girl clung to him instinctively, coughing, crying, terrified. "It's okay," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos in his chest. "You're okay. I've got you." The second twin was now crying on the shore, her little hands outstretched as the nanny tried to keep her back. Ethan kicked toward them, every muscle burning, until his feet found the muddy bottom. He lifted the child into the nanny's arms, who was already sobbing. "Oh my God, thank you," she cried, wrapping both girls in her coat. You saved her," Ethan coughed, dripping, breathless. She swallowed some water. "Keep her warm. Call a doctor if she keeps coughing." The girl he had saved looked up at him with wide green eyes that shimmered like wet glass. Her lower lip trembled. "Mommy's gonna be mad," she hiccuped. "We lost our kite." Ethan smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. "I think she'll be more happy that you're safe, don't you?" The other twin, still clutching the broken string of the kite, nodded tearfully. "You're like a superhero," she whispered. He laughed softly. "Hardly. Just a dad who can't stand still when someone needs help." Noah ran up, panting. "Dad, you went swimming in your clothes," he exclaimed. His eyes were wide with awe. Ethan ruffled his hair. "Guess I did." The nanny handed him a towel from her bag. "Thank you." "Really, thank you." "Their mother. She'll want to meet you." "She's on her way right now." Ethan waved it off. "No need for that, just make sure they're okay." He was already stepping back, eager to fade into the background again. The nanny's phone rang. A sharp, elegant ringtone. "Yes, ma'am," she said quickly. "Yes, they're fine." "Yes, someone helped?" No injuries." She glanced up at Ethan, then lowered her voice. "You'll want to thank him in person." Ethan didn't notice her words. He was too busy wringing out his soaked shirt, trying not to shiver as the breeze picked up. He looked at the twins again. They were both safe, laughing now, clutching each other with the fierce bond only twins have. Something about them tugged at him. Their eyes, bright green and full of emotion, felt oddly familiar, but he couldn't place it. Maybe he'd seen them before in another life, when things were simpler. He pushed the thought away. Coincidences didn't mean anything. "Come on, buddy," he said to Noah, grabbing his backpack. Let's get you that ice cream I promised. Noah cheered, already forgetting the drama, and skipped toward the ice cream truck. Ethan followed, his wet sneakers squelching against the pavement. He felt the stares of a few bystanders but ignored them. He wasn't looking for gratitude or attention. He just couldn't stand seeing a child in danger. That was who he was now. A quiet man doing the right thing when he could. But as he glanced back one last time, he saw the nanny still on the phone, her eyes darting toward him, her face pale with nerves. The twins were safe, yes, but something in her expression made Ethan uneasy. Maybe it was the way she kept glancing down the road, as if waiting for someone important. Someone powerful. Ethan didn't know that. In just a few minutes, a sleek black car would pull up beside that lake, and the woman who stepped out would be the last person he ever wanted to see again. He didn't know that the twins he'd just saved were hers. The woman who'd destroyed his career. The one who'd turned his name into a warning in corporate boardrooms. The one who'd lied, Claire Lawson. But for now, all Ethan knew was that he'd saved 2 little girls, and for the first time in a long time, he felt like a good man again. He didn't yet realize that fate wasn't finished with him, not by a long shot. The sound of screeching tires cut through the calm afternoon like a knife. Ethan turned instinctively, squinting as a black luxury SUV came to a sudden stop beside the park. The car door flew open, and out stepped a woman in a tailored navy suit and heels that sank slightly into the grass. Her hair, perfectly straight and dark as ink, gleamed under the sunlight. She wasn't running, but her eyes told a different story. Panic, fear, desperation. "Mommy!" The twins screamed, breaking free from their nanny's grip. Ethan froze. Something in that voice, that word, echoed inside him. He turned fully toward her just as the woman dropped to her knees, pulling both girls into her arms. "Oh, thank God," she whispered, hugging them so tightly it looked like she was afraid they'd disappear. "Are you hurt? Tell me you're not hurt." Her hands moved over their shoulders, their hair, their faces, trembling slightly, as if confirming they were real. The nanny stepped forward, her voice shaky. "They're fine, Ms. Lawson, just shaken up." "That man," she pointed toward Ethan, "he saved them, pulled one of them from the lake." The woman's head lifted, slowly. Ethan's heart stilled. For a moment, neither of them spoke. It was like time folded in on itself, dragging the past into the present. "Ethan?" she breathed. The name hung between them like smoke. He hadn't heard her voice in 6 years, but it hadn't changed. Calm, precise, with a softness that only appeared when she wasn't guarding herself. "Claire," he said quietly. His voice was flat, unreadable. Her eyes widened, and the color drained from her face. The confident, composed CEO was suddenly human, fragile. The twins looked up, confused. "Mommy, you know him?" Claire blinked rapidly, her throat tightening. "Yes, sweethearts, I do." She stood, smoothing her blazer, trying to rebuild her composure. "He was an old coworker." Ethan gave a small, humorless laugh. "That's one way to put it." She flinched. The twins didn't notice. They were too busy chattering about their kite and the superhero man who had saved them. Ethan watched them, a faint smile flickering across his face. They were beautiful kids, bright, lively, full of innocence. And in that moment, something twisted in his chest. Because he'd once dreamed of having a family like that, before she had taken everything from him. "Ethan, can we talk?" Claire's voice was low, uncertain. The exact opposite of the way she'd spoken to him the last time they'd stood in the same room. He hesitated. "I don't think we have much to say." "Please," her tone cracked on that single word. "Just a moment." He sighed and nodded toward a nearby bench. 5 minutes. That's all. She instructed the nanny to take the twins to get ice cream. Once they were out of earshot, Claire turned to him, her arms crossed. Not in defiance, but defense. "I didn't know it was you," she said softly. "When Amelia told me someone saved them—" "Relax," Ethan interrupted. "You don't owe me thanks." He stared at the lake, his jaw tight. I didn't do it for you. I know. Her voice trembled slightly, but she steadied herself. She'd always been good at that, controlling emotion, hiding weakness. It was what made her such a powerful CEO. It was also what made her dangerous. You look different, she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Yeah, it's amazing what unemployment and a custody battle can do to a man. She closed her eyes briefly. Ethan, about what happened? Don't, he snapped, his voice sharp enough to make her flinch. Don't pretend you didn't destroy me. I remember every detail. The meeting, the lies, the way everyone turned their backs the moment you spoke. Her eyes filled with something, guilt, maybe, or regret. It wasn't supposed to happen that way, she whispered. The board, he cut in bitterly. The board believed you. Claire Lawson, the Golden Star, the youngest female CEO in the company's history. Why would they question you when you said I'd leaked confidential data? He laughed once, hollow, bitter. I lost everything. My job, my reputation, my marriage. He paused, looking down at his hands, still scraped from the rescue. I almost lost my son. Claire's lips parted, but no words came out. Her throat ached with things she couldn't say, or maybe didn't have the right to. I didn't have proof then, Ethan continued, but I do now. I found the emails, the ones you didn't want anyone to see. Her breath caught. You? I know it wasn't me who leaked that campaign data. It was your partner, the one you were protecting. He looked her dead in the eye. And instead of telling the truth, you let me burn for it. Claire's facade cracked. For the first time, the ice around her eyes melted. I wanted to fix it, she said desperately. But by the time I tried, it was too late. The story was everywhere, I thought. You thought ruining a man's life was the price of keeping your empire. She didn't deny it. A long silence stretched between them. The sounds of the park, laughter, birds, the faint hum of cars, felt miles away. Ethan finally stood, brushing off his jeans. You don't owe me anything, Claire. I saved your kids because they needed help, that's all. He started to walk away, but her voice stopped him. Ethan, please, she said, stepping closer. Let me make it right. He turned, his gaze hard. You can't undo 6 years, Claire. You can't give me back the nights I stayed up wondering how to explain to my son why people called his dad a thief. You can't give me back the job interviews that went nowhere because your name was tied to mine. Her eyes shimmered with tears. I didn't know you had a son. No, he said quietly. You didn't care enough to ask. She looked down, silent. Her hands trembled as she clasped them together. For a moment, she didn't look like the CEO everyone feared. She looked like a woman haunted by her own choices. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am. Ethan's expression softened, barely. He wanted to stay angry, to hold on to the bitterness that had kept him alive all these years. But standing there, seeing her vulnerability, his heart wavered. The twins ran back, ice cream dripping down their hands, laughter ringing through the air. They stopped between them, one holding Claire's hand, the other tugging on Ethan's sleeve. Mommy, can he come to our house? One asked innocently. He's nice, Claire smiled weakly. Maybe another day, sweetheart. Ethan looked down at the girl, his anger fading a little more. Take care of them, he said softly. He started to walk away again, this time for real. But as he reached the park gate, Claire called out, her voice trembling. Ethan. I want to tell you the truth, everything. You deserve to know. He stopped, his back still turned. Then make sure it's the whole truth this time, he said. And with that, he walked away, leaving Claire standing by the lake, her reflection rippling in the same water where he'd just saved her daughters. For years, she'd been the one with all the power. But in that moment, for the first time, she realized he was the one who could destroy her now.